Theme parks and stadiums get the green light to bring people back with limited capacity. The new guidance from the state and the obstacle in San Diego County's way.
California is setting aside 40% of COVID vaccine doses for the hardest hit areas. The measures in place to make sure people don't cheat the system.
Governor Newsom signs a $6 billion school reopening bill into law. The chances of getting most children back in a classroom within a month.
ABC 10 News at 6 starts now.
Moving into the red tier took on a whole new meaning today as the state announced stadiums and theme parks will be able to bring people back. Good evening. I'm Kimberly Hunt.
And I'm Steve Atkinson. Those changes take place on April 1st, but again, only for counties in the red tier. San Diego right now remains in the purple tier. Our ABC 10 News reporter Anthony Pura joins us live from Petco Park with more on these changes tonight. Anthony.
Well, games here at Petco Park always bring large crowds to downtown, and businesses near the ballpark, they're excited to at least get some of those fans back. So here's what the new guidelines are saying about outdoor live events and places like ballparks. Starting April 1st, for counties in the purple tier, capacity at the venues will be limited to 100 people or fewer. Attendance will be limited to regional visitors. That means people living within 120 miles. Advance reservations will be required and no concessions will be allowed during the purple tier. Now in the red tier, things change. Capacity jumps to 20%, including suites. Suites will be limited to 25% occupancy. In addition, in-seat concessions will be allowed. Now, Petco Park was closed to fans last season because of the pandemic. Not only that, it was also a shortened season. This year, a full season with limited fans is enough to get business owners hopeful, especially with the Padres bringing in a lot of excitement to the season. They hope that it sets businesses up for a strong rebound.
You know, we were looking forward and kind of being hopeful that that was going to happen. So getting a limited amount of fans in the stadium is good news, you know, not only for us, but for the Padres and for Padre fans.
And right now, San Diego County still in the purple tier, but there is a lot of optimism that it will be moved into the red tier soon. We're reporting live tonight. Anthony Pura, ABC 10 News.
Anthony, thank you. Sky 10 flew over the county's amusement parks that could start seeing visitors in a few weeks because of today's announcement. Once the region enters the red tier, places such as SeaWorld, Legoland, and Belmont Park will be allowed to open, but with a limited capacity of 15%. Disneyland will also follow these same restrictions. In the orange tier, that increases to 25% and to 35% in the yellow tier. Attendance will be limited to in-state visitors.
California is setting aside a portion of the available vaccines for people living in certain zip codes hit hardest by the pandemic. Our ABC 10 News anchor Lindsay Pena explains the measures in place so people don't cheat the system.
California's new plan to set aside 40% of available vaccines for those living in certain zip codes was welcome news to groups who've been trying to get more at-risk people vaccinated.
We're very hopeful that this will bring equity into the vaccine distribution and allow our communities to have access to the vaccine.
Roberto Alcantar with the Chicano Federation says the Latino population in San Diego was one of the hardest hit by COVID, but the vaccination rate has remained low.
After the first couple of weeks of vaccinations, only about 14% of the vaccines that were administered were going to the Latino community.
According to the plan, people living in about a dozen zip codes in San Diego County would be eligible for the designated vaccines. Those areas are ones that have low scores in the state's Healthy Places Index. It takes into account things like employment, access to health care, and education.
Dedicated vaccines and the technology to make the My Turn system work into those areas, we think will be a great benefit in our continued efforts to not only move fast, but move fair.
The system is based on zip code. And although Alcantar says they've already seen some instances of people trying to get vaccinated in areas outside of where they live, Moving forward, they'll try to ensure the set-aside doses go to those they're intended for.
Now we have to really implement these safeguards and ensure that the folks living in those zip codes have access to the vaccine.
But he says there's also a fine line to walk.
You also don't want to ask for too much information that might make some folks uncomfortable, particularly folks, who are undocumented or have a mixed status family.
Lindsay Pena, ABC 10 News.
The Chicano Federation has staff dedicated to helping people understand their vaccine eligibility. You can reach out to them directly at the number on your screen.
1 million vaccine doses have been administered to people throughout our county, and that includes both first and second doses, meaning fewer than 1 million people have been vaccinated so far. More than 608,000 San Diegans have gotten vaccinated, with 303,000 having received both doses. The 1 millionth dose was given this morning at the Tubman Chavez Community Center. The Del Mar vaccine superstation will be closed tomorrow because of supply issues. It comes after the Petco Park station closed earlier this week. Other sites across the county are still open, and UCSD Health doesn't expect another closure at the Petco location. And another possible boost on the horizon. County officials say the first Johnson & Johnson doses should arrive in San Diego in the next week.
That is good news. And a new group of San Diegans will be eligible for the vaccine in less than 2 weeks. It includes people with specific underlying conditions, including specific types of cancer, kidney disease, heart conditions, and type 2 diabetes. But there is a loophole if you don't fall into those categories. You will also be eligible if your doctor determines that you are likely to develop life-threatening illness or death from COVID-19.
Puts the burden on the physician to decide you can get one, you can't. And I think that's very, very unfair to put a physician in that spot, and to the patient as well, where they're trying to lobby for themselves.
Patients will have to get a note from their doctor saying that they deemed them eligible for the vaccine. Patients that fall into the underlying condition category, they will be able to make their vaccine appointments starting March 15th. We know there are a lot of questions and different experiences with the vaccine rollout. Our ABC 10 News In-Depth team is committed to tracking down answers and sharing your stories. Just send us an email to tips@10news.com.
Back to in-person learning. That's the goal of a $6 billion schools bill signed by the governor this morning. ABC 10 News reporter Adam Rakusin breaks down the new law and looks into whether most kids will actually be back in the class by the start of April.
Let's get that $6.6 billion out into the districts.
With that, Governor Gavin Newsom signed sweeping legislation aimed at reopening schools across the state of California. Sure, lawmakers on this virtual call were excited, but at least one noted that dangling money in front of school districts doesn't mean that they actually bite.
We're going to take this as a first step, and we're going to go home to all our districts and beg all our districts to open up, use this money, and do everything possible. I know I got a big hurdle with my own district in San Francisco.
Some parents aren't buying the effort, saying it doesn't force schools to reopen for in-person instruction.
It looks like a bunch of politicians who are charading around trying to act like they care about our students, but without some sort of executive action, this plan is going to just fall flat.
Leslie Hoffmeister's got 3 kids, 2 of them school age.
I see our children falling into despair, losing motivation. I see children becoming more isolated.
The legislation signed by the governor provides $2 billion for districts that offer in-person learning by the start of April. It also provides another $4.6 billion to districts to help students catch up on learning they missed. If districts don't make reopening an option by the start of April for certain grade levels, they'll lose 1% of their share of the funds for every day they miss the deadline. As of February 23rd, a dashboard run by the San Diego County Office of Education shows the bulk of students across the county are still participating in distance learning.
It's not the perfect answer. It's also not the final answer, but it's an answer.
Adam Rakusin, ABC 10 News.
For many districts, part of reopening schools also relies on getting teachers vaccinated. ABC 10 News wanted to know how many educators have gotten a vaccine or signed up to get one. We asked the group that's running the local collaboration. We've not yet gotten a response.
Our 14-day rolling average for positive cases continues to drop. It is now below 3.5% for the first time in 4 months. The county reported just under 500 new cases today. That pushes our total past 262,000. But the county also said that 12 more people have died from this virus. More than 26,000 nurses across California are about to receive a hero bonus from Kaiser Permanente. The hospital will pay out an average of $2,100 each. Unions representing nurses in the health system made that request for those bonuses. Kaiser says they will be paid to union and non-union nurses alike. Here in San Diego, Kaiser says the bonuses will be paid by next Friday.
People in San Diego's event industry are taking a new approach to draw attention to their pandemic struggles. Nearly 24 billboards are now on display around the county. This one is at 37th and University in City Heights between the 805 and the 15. The message on each says San Diego's events industry is going out of business and it needs a pathway back. The San Diego Event Coalition says across the country, 12 million event industry workers have lost their jobs.